It was just another Tuesday morning when it arrived. An envelope so deceptively ordinary that I nearly tossed it into the trash with the rest of the junk mail. No return address. Just my full name, typed clean and formal across the front, like a damn summons from the past. I opened it more out of boredom than curiosity. You're invited to the Jefferson High School class of 2005 to 20-year reunion. October 14th. Dinner, dancing, drinks, and memories. Memories. What a joke. My fingers tensed around the paper before I forced myself to loosen them. I told myself I wasn't going. Of course I wasn't. What the hell would I be celebrating? It had been nearly 7 years since I left that town for good, dragging the pieces of my life behind me like a busted suitcase. 7 years since I walked in on my wife, ex-wife, screwing my best friend on our leather sectional like they'd been doing it for months. Probably had. Eric. Even his name still tasted like ash in my mouth. We'd been inseparable since 8th grade. Football, parties, road trips. Hell, I made him my best man. And he repaid that trust by fucking my wife in the house I paid for. I didn't even yell when I saw them. Didn't swing. I just stared. Frozen. Like watching a car crash from the driver's seat. She saw me, wide-eyed and caught mid-thrust like a cliché. And you know what she said? It's not what it looks like. I left that night with nothing but my car, my dog, and the shirt on my back. I didn't come back. Until now. I was about to chuck the invitation into the shredder when I saw the back of the card. A QR code. Curiosity cracked through the numbness. I scanned it. It took me to the RSVP page, a site called Classmates Forever. There were names listed under the attending section. Familiar ones. Distant ones. And then I saw it. Her name. Rachel Morgan. My ex-wife. Rachel fucking Morgan. Attending. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the decline button, but then I didn't press it. Instead, I scrolled down. Eric Jameson, attending. Of course. I could see it now. They'd show up together, probably married by now. The power couple of the class of '05, flaunting their betrayal like it had been fate instead of filth. She probably dyed her hair some sophisticated tone, the kind magazines called champagne beige. He'd wear some slim-fit bullshit suit, his hair pushed back to show off those surgically white teeth. My chest tightened, but not with pain. Not anymore. I'd done my mourning. I'd had my spiral. The drinking, the months of silence, the therapist who eventually told me I needed to release control. I didn't want control. I wanted closure. Or maybe something else. Revenge? No, that wasn't it either. I just wanted her to see me now. Because here's the thing. After the divorce, I rebuilt myself. Slowly. Brutally. I dropped 30 pounds, hit the gym like it owed me rent, and got my business off the ground. A custom carpentry firm. Something real, something mine. I shaped oak and steel with my bare hands. And somewhere in that process, I shaped myself too. The man she betrayed was gone. Dead and buried. This version of me? I was someone she never saw coming. But I wasn't going alone. That thought came like a whisper from somewhere deep, dark, and sharp. I didn't want to walk into that reunion alone while she clung to his arm, parading their betrayal around like it was some love story worth envying. No, I'd walk in with someone by my side. Someone beautiful, confident, the kind of woman who would turn heads, hers included. And as fate would have it, fate had already delivered her to me. I just didn't know it yet. I didn't go out looking for her. In fact, I hadn't even planned to leave the house that morning. I just finished sanding down a live-edge walnut slab in my shop, my hands still dusted with sawdust, when I realized I was out of coffee beans, which, for me, was a borderline emergency. So I cleaned up, pulled on a clean shirt, and walked into Brew Haven, the little indie coffee spot 2 blocks from my workshop. The place smelled like roasted heaven and cinnamon scones. I was half listening to the indie rock overhead and waiting in line when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Light, amused, unmistakable. Still drinking it black, huh? Always thought you were a masochist. I turned. It took me half a second to recognize her. Lena Carter, Rachel's best friend in high school, maid of honor at our wedding, and the only person in our entire friend group who didn't vanish after the divorce. She looked different. Better. Her hair was darker now, cut into a sleek shoulder-length bob that framed her cheekbones perfectly. Her lips had always had that sly curve, like she was perpetually 2 seconds away from saying something inappropriate. And her eyes, those deep hazel eyes, were still lined with the same sharp intelligence I remembered, only now with a cool confidence that made it impossible not to stare a second too long. "Lena," I said, offering a smile that surprised even me. "Still using sarcasm as your primary language?" She grinned. "Old habits. So, you still exist?" "I do," I said. "Still local. I moved back last year. Temporarily. Bought my sister's condo while she's teaching in Europe. God help me, I missed this town." We ordered our coffees, hers, some lavender vanilla oat milk thing I didn't dare make fun of, and took them outside to the patio. I wasn't sure why. We were only supposed to exchange pleasantries, maybe a quick, "you look good," and be on our way. But the conversation flowed so naturally it felt like we'd just picked up from some unspoken chapter. "So," she said after a while, stirring her drink idly, "you going to the reunion?" I chuckled, eyeing her over the rim of my cup. "What makes you think I'd willingly walk into that lion's den?" "Because I saw your name on the RSVP list," she said without missing a beat. I blinked. "You looked?" Curiosity is a hell of a drug. I smirked. I wasn't going to. Then I saw Rachel's name. And Eric's. Her expression tightened, barely, but I caught it. "Yeah, that's why I haven't RSVP'd yet," she said. "Not sure I want to be in the same room with those two. Rachel's been reaching out again lately. I think she wants to play the nostalgia card." "She ever tell you why she did it?" Lena looked down into her cup, then back up at me. "No," she said. "Not really." She deflected. "Said she was unhappy, that you were too settled." "Bullshit, of course. You were loyal. You were stable. That scared her." "That's a charitable interpretation. It's more than she deserves," Lena said, her voice edged. Then, quieter. I didn't speak to her for almost a year after it happened. Couldn't look at her the same way. That admission hit harder than I expected. She'd been Rachel's closest confidant. I always assumed Lena had picked her side. "Honestly," Lena said, leaning back, her blouse tightening across her chest in a way I tried not to stare at. "The only reason I'm even considering going is morbid curiosity. To see how fake everyone's become." I laughed. "So we're both considering showing up to an event we'll probably hate." She tilted her head. "Maybe it won't suck if we didn't go alone." The words just sat there, hanging between us. I glanced over at her, trying to read her expression. There was nothing teasing about it. She wasn't joking. Her hazel eyes locked with mine, unwavering. "You saying we go together?" I asked slowly. She shrugged. That cool, confident shrug of someone who knows the power of her presence. It'd mess with their heads, wouldn't it? Now it was my turn to smirk. "You think Rachel would care?" "Oh, she'll care," Lena said. "She hates not being the center of attention." "And Eric? He always had that weird jealousy thing with you. Even back in high school." She leaned in slightly, the scent of vanilla and something warmer, something uniquely her, reaching me. I couldn't help but notice how close she was. Her knee brushed mine, and neither of us moved. "And you don't mind being used as revenge bait?" I asked. She tilted her head again, a slow smile curving her lips. "Who said I was doing it for you?" My pulse kicked up. There was something in her tone, something playful but weighted. A flirtation layered with unspoken history, of all the times we'd exchanged quick glances across crowded rooms, always a little too long, always pretending it meant nothing. "Well," I said, my voice quieter, "if you're serious, we should probably plan our story. Make it convincing." "I'm free Friday," she said. "Dinner." "Dinner." She stood, brushing her fingers along my forearm lightly, deliberately, as she passed. "Text me," she said, and then she was gone. I sat there a while longer, staring at the space she'd left behind, her touch still tingling on my skin. This wasn't going to be simple. Not by a long shot. Dinner was supposed to be strategic. That's what I told myself as I double-checked my reflection in the restaurant's window before heading inside. This wasn't a date. It was reconnaissance. Preparation. Like two generals mapping a battlefield before marching into enemy territory. But the moment I saw Alina seated near the back of the restaurant, dim lighting casting soft shadows across her collarbone, a glass of wine already in hand, I knew I was lying to myself. She looked dangerous, not in a femme fatale way, but in the way that unsettles you. She wore a black dress, simple and elegant, hugging her figure without screaming for attention. Her hair was down tonight, soft waves framing her face. Her lips curved when she spotted me, but her eyes, God, those eyes, stayed sharp. She wasn't playing dress up. She was always this woman. I just hadn't seen it before. Nice shirt, she said as I slid into the seat across from her. Thanks. I bought it 20 minutes ago after realizing I own nothing but flannel and t-shirts. She smirked. It suits you. Still rugged. Just slightly less lumberjack. High praise, I said, letting the sarcasm return. You clean up well, too. She raised an eyebrow. This is me casual. I'm terrified of formal now. We ordered steak for me, roasted duck for her, and made it halfway through a bottle of red before the talk turned serious. So, she said, swirling the wine in her glass, what's our story? I leaned back. You mean the lie we'll be feeding our entire graduating class? She nodded. Exactly. We could go dramatic, secret whirlwind romance. Years of unspoken feelings finally realized. Or tragic, I offered. Two broken hearts finding each other through shared trauma. She laughed. You're surprisingly theatrical. I've had time to rehearse. Years of silence give you room for monologues. She tilted her head. We could just tell the truth. And which truth would that be? That I ran into you by accident, she said. That we agreed to go together because we didn't want to show up alone. And that maybe, just maybe, there's more between us now than either of us expected. My throat tightened around the sip of wine I'd just taken. The pause between us stretched out. Not awkward, but weighted. I noticed the way her dress dipped just slightly at the neckline. The way her fingers brushed her collarbone as she traced the stem of her glass. A flicker of desire pulsed low in my chest, subtle, but undeniable. Let's talk high school, I said, changing the subject, or trying to. You always seemed above it. I was just quiet, she said. Didn't mean I wasn't watching. Watching what? Her gaze sharpened. You, Rachel, the way people treated you. You never seemed to notice how many girls wanted you. I snorted. Now I know you're drunk. She shrugged. Not drunk, just honest. You were so obsessed with making things work with Rachel, you didn't see what was right in front of you. I blinked. Are you saying? I'm saying I saw things, she interrupted gently. And maybe I wondered, back then, what might have happened if you'd looked at me like you looked at her. The air shifted. She wasn't teasing. She wasn't playing games. I leaned forward, arms folded on the table between us. And what if I look at you like that now? Her eyes searched mine. Then maybe we stop pretending this is just about the reunion. Silence. Thick, charged, heavy with potential. Then, as if to cut the tension, she sat back and smiled. Not coy, but warm. Let's keep it simple. We've known each other forever. Now we're rediscovering each other. We'll show up together. Walk in like we're together. Touch when we talk. Laugh like we're lovers. You do know this is going to raise eyebrows. Exactly, she said, sipping her wine. Let them talk. That's half the fun. After dinner, we lingered outside the restaurant under a flickering street lamp. The breeze had picked up, tugging at her hair. Let me drive you home, I offered. I walked, she said, glancing down the block. But if you're offering. I opened the passenger door of my truck. She slid in gracefully, her dress riding up just enough to make my brain short-circuit. I adjusted the mirror, mostly just to avoid staring. The drive was quiet at first. Then she asked, softly, Did you ever love her? Rachel? She nodded. Yes, I said. Once. Fully. Stupidly. I gave her every part of me, like she was some kind of destination. And now, I said, glancing at her. I wonder how I could have been so blind. We pulled up in front of her place. The porch light was on. Her condo looked cozy from the outside. A small garden, a wind chime swaying above the steps. She turned to me. This was fun, she said. More than it should have been. Agreed. But we should probably set some boundaries. Probably. A beat passed. Neither of us moved. She leaned in and brushed a kiss across my cheek. Soft, lingering just long enough to blur lines. Good night, she whispered. I watched her walk up the steps, her figure silhouetted by the porch light. Strategic, I reminded myself. But the lie was starting to crack. I wasn't expecting the text. It came 2 days after our dinner, around noon, while I was elbow-deep in a walnut bookshelf commission. My phone buzzed on the workbench beside me, half buried under a sheet of sandpaper and a measuring tape. I wiped my hands on my jeans, half expecting a client update. Instead, it was from Lena. Too much. Attached was a photo. She was standing in front of a full-length mirror, her phone half covering her face. But the rest was enough to make me sit the hell down on the nearest stool. The dress was deep emerald, silky, with a plunging neckline that balanced precariously on the edge of scandal. It hugged her curves in ways that made me question whether this was still just about appearances. Slit up the thigh, open back, no sleeves. My throat dried. It wasn't just sexy, it was a statement. Bold, unapologetic. It said, I'm not hiding from anyone anymore. And suddenly, this revenge date started to feel like something more than just performance. I didn't respond right away. I zoomed in on the image, twice. Not because I was being a creep. Okay, maybe a little, but because I needed to remind myself this wasn't fantasy. This was real. She'd sent it to me. 5 years ago, that dress would have just been another distraction in a crowded room. Now, it felt like a spotlight aimed directly at everything I'd been trying to bury. Resentment, longing, and maybe a little bit of hope I didn't know I still carried. Finally, I typed, Jesus, that's not too much at all. 3 dots appeared. Then, you sure? I don't want to make your ex combust the second she sees us. I smirked. That's exactly what I want. Another pause. Then, good, because I already bought it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling fan as it turned in lazy, indifferent circles. My mind kept returning to that photo. The way the dress clung to her like a secret, the way she stood with one leg slightly bent, like she knew she was daring me to say something more. But more than that, I thought about how easily we slipped into this thing. This performance that no longer felt like just an act. The dinner, the flirtation, the tension that hovered like a live wire between every word. And the way she said, what if we stop pretending? The reunion was still a week away, but I could already feel it looming. Like a storm on the horizon, not just the awkward glances, the whispered judgments, or the sight of my ex-wife with my ex-best friend. That I could brace for. What I wasn't ready for was this. This possibility that Lena and I might be walking into that gymnasium not just arm in arm, but on the edge of something that couldn't be taken back. The next morning, she called. I'm second-guessing the slit, she said, not even bothering with hello. It's high. How high? I asked. Mid-thigh. Maybe higher if I walk fast. I like fast walkers. She laughed. I'm serious. So am I. A pause. Then, softer. You really think this is going to mess with her? Oh yeah. Another pause. Good. She deserves a taste of irrelevance. The venom in her voice surprised me. You still mad at her? I asked. I think I'm mad at myself, she admitted. For putting up with her shit for so long. For defending her after what she did to you. And for always wondering what if. What if? She hesitated. Then said it. What if I'd said something back then? What if I'd made a move before she did? The question hung between us, more intimate than anything she'd sent in that photo. You think I would have picked you? I asked. I don't know, she said. I think maybe not then. But now? Now I know you'd see me. I couldn't speak. I wanted to. But the words felt like landmines. Say the wrong thing, and I'd lose whatever was blooming between us. Eventually, I said the only honest thing I could. I see you now. She exhaled, the sound soft and real. Then let's make sure everyone else does too. That afternoon, I found myself driving to the same store she'd mentioned, even though I didn't need a thing. I just wanted to see it. The dress. On a hanger, maybe, so I could convince myself I hadn't imagined how damn good she looked in it. The woman at the counter smiled at me. Looking for something in particular? I paused, then said, You sold an emerald green dress yesterday. Long slit. Open back. She nodded. We only had one of those. Your girlfriend has great taste. I smiled, and for once, didn't correct her. She really does. The parking lot outside Jefferson High looked exactly as I remembered it. Cracked pavement, faded yellow lines, the same rusted goalpost in the distance where we used to kill time after class. But the people stepping out of their shiny new SUVs and leased sedans looked older, stiffer, like ghosts of their teenage selves wrapped in dry-clean versions of adulthood. I cut the engine and glanced over at Lena. She hadn't spoken for the last 3 minutes of the drive. She didn't need to. Her presence was magnetic enough to fill the silence. That emerald dress shimmered under the interior lights, clinging to her in all the right places. Her hair was pinned just high enough to show off the curve of her neck, and a single strand hung loose, begging to be touched. You sure you want to do this? I asked. She turned to me slowly. You asking if I want to walk into a gym full of emotionally stunted overachievers with the hottest man in the room on my arm? I raised a brow. Then yes, she said. Very sure. I grinned and climbed out, coming around to open her door. She stepped out like a scene in slow motion, heels clicking confidently against the pavement, her hand resting lightly on my arm as we walked toward the entrance. I felt eyes on us before we even crossed the threshold. A pair of balloon arches framed the gym doors, one already sagging from the late summer heat. Inside, the place had been transformed, sort of. White tablecloths on folding tables. Fairy lights strung overhead. A nostalgic playlist from our senior year thrummed quietly through the speakers. But none of it mattered, because the moment we stepped in, the noise dipped. Conversations stuttered. Faces turned. Lena leaned into me and whispered. And cue the whispers. I scanned the room. It didn't take long to spot them. Rachel, standing near the drink table in a maroon cocktail dress that probably cost more than my truck. Her hair was curled, glossy, and calculated. She was laughing until she saw us. Her eyes landed on Lena first, and her expression didn't falter. Not right away, but then she looked at me. Really looked. Her laugh died in her throat. Lena tightened her grip on my arm, her nails grazing the inside of my wrist. She's seen us. I know. And she's rattled. Across the room, Eric stood with a group of guys I vaguely remembered, faces from football practice and bonfires. He followed Rachel's gaze and spotted us too. His reaction was less subtle. The frown came immediately. His jaw clenched. He took a sip of his drink and didn't look away. He looks like he swallowed a lemon, Lena said with a smile. Good. We started our slow circuit through the gym, Lena keeping perfect pace with me, every now and then brushing her arm against mine or laughing a little too loudly at something I said. It was intentional. It was calculated. And it was working. People stopped us constantly. People I hadn't seen in years, some still friendly, some visibly trying to figure out what the hell was going on. You two came together? How long's this been going on? Wait, are you dating? We dodged and redirected, never giving a full answer. Ambiguity was part of the power. At one point, Lena excused herself to the restroom, and within 30 seconds, Rachel was making her way toward me. I felt her before I saw her. That scent, something sweet, like memory and guilt, hit me in the chest. Hey, she said. I turned. Rachel, you look, she trailed off, clearly choosing her words carefully. Different. So do you, I said flatly. A pause. So, she said, glancing around. You and Lena? Yeah. Another pause. Her smile was brittle. I didn't realize you were even in touch. We ran into each other recently. Things just clicked. Her eyes flicked toward the restroom. That dress is a lot. I chuckled. Yeah, it is. She tilted her head, clearly annoyed I wasn't biting the bait. Look, I'm glad you're doing well, she said, voice low. Really? I am. She blinked. That landed. I just hope this isn't some retaliation thing, she added, softer now. I leaned in slightly, keeping my voice even. Why would I need to retaliate? I'm not the one who cheated. She went pale. The words hung there like a slap, and before she could recover, I saw Lena returning, eyes sharp, expression unreadable. Rachel turned just as Lena rejoined me, slipping her hand into mine. Hi, Rachel, she said, smiling just enough to be polite and dismissive. Rachel nodded stiffly. Lena. And then she walked away. The moment she was gone, Lena let out a breath. God, I forgot how smug she is. You were perfect. I know, she said, smirking. But thank you. We clinked our glasses together and took a slow sip. Across the room, Eric was still watching. The scowl hadn't left his face. Think he's going to say something? She asked. Maybe. I kind of hope he does. Me too. Lena leaned in, her lips close to my ear. I don't think I've ever had this much fun at a reunion. Same, I murmured. But part of me wasn't just enjoying the show. Part of me, a bigger part than I wanted to admit, was starting to feel like this was more than revenge. It felt like something real. If walking into the reunion with Lena had been checkmate, everything that followed was a long, slow game of mental chess. Only now, we weren't just here to win. We were here to own the board. We moved through the gym like smoke. Effortless. Calm. Lethally graceful. Lena had a gift for small talk. Not the awkward kind, but the kind that made people lean in. She laughed at just the right volume, touched my arm at just the right moments. She whispered things in my ear that weren't even particularly funny, but the way her lips brushed so close sent a thrill down my spine every time. And people noticed. "Oh my God, you two are adorable," said Angela Morse, who once ignored me completely in high school. "When did this start?" asked Mark Dillon, whose most memorable trait back then was getting suspended for lighting the teacher's chair on fire. "We're just enjoying the moment," Lena answered, and kissed me lightly on the cheek. That kiss, soft, casual, innocent enough on the surface, set off another wave of attention. I felt Rachel's gaze like a laser across the room. I didn't look back. Let her stew. Let her remember what it was like when I used to hold her like this. Let her try and compare. Lena leaned in. "She's watching again. Let her. She looks like she's calculating her next move." "Good. So am I." Lena smirked and gently looped her arm through mine. "Then let's turn up the heat." We made our way to the refreshment table, not because we were hungry, but because Rachel was standing just a few feet away, pretending to look interested in the cheese platter. She glanced up as we approached, and I caught the flicker of annoyance before she covered it with a plastic smile. "Didn't expect you two to be the stars of the night," she said lightly. Lena answered before I could. "Oh, we didn't plan to be. But when the chemistry's this real." Rachel blinked. I nearly laughed. It was such a subtle jab, delivered with a smile so sweet you'd never see the blade beneath it. That's when I realized Lena wasn't just playing along. She was good at this. Scary good. "Eric's looking for you," Rachel said, turning to me now. I shrugged. "He knows where I am. Maybe you two should talk." "About what?" I asked, feigning confusion. "High school, or the years he spent lying to my face while sleeping with my wife." Rachel's smile cracked. "People change. Some of us grow up," I said. Lena tugged my arm gently. "Come on." We were about to dance. Rachel's lips parted like she had more to say, but Lena had already guided me away. Once we were out of earshot, I exhaled. That felt good. Lena tilted her head. "You sure you're okay?" "Yeah. I just forgot how fake she could be." "She's not faking it well tonight," Lena said. "She looks like she wants to scratch my eyes out." We both laughed, and then Lena stepped in closer, lowering her voice. "Let's keep her guessing. Give them all something to talk about." She slipped her arm around my waist and pulled me into a slow walk through the crowd. We didn't say much, just smiled, nodded at classmates, and moved in a way that made it very clear that whatever we had, it wasn't casual. She was clever. The way she brushed her hand along my shoulder. The way she fixed my collar. These weren't random acts. They were deliberate strokes in a painting we were creating in real time. Each gesture whispered, "He's mine now. And you missed your chance." At one point, someone snapped a photo of us, and Lena leaned in to whisper, "That's going straight into the reunion Facebook album." I smiled. Perfect. We drifted near the old trophy case, where some of our class's sports photos were taped up. I caught a glimpse of my younger self, helmet in hand, standing next to Eric. I didn't even remember that picture being taken. Lena followed my gaze. "You were kind of adorable back then." "You think so?" "Oh yeah." All shy confidence and quiet brooding. "You were the guy girls crushed on without ever telling you." I looked at her. "You included?" She gave me a look. "Please." My eyebrows rose. She smiled. "Okay, maybe a little." I turned toward her. "Why didn't you say something?" "I was your wife's best friend," she said. That felt like crossing a line. She crossed plenty. Her eyes darkened for a moment. "Yeah, she did." We stood there, close enough to kiss, the room buzzing around us. I wanted to pull her in, to see if the chemistry between us was just part of the act, or something we'd both been ignoring far too long. But then Lena stepped back. Just half a step. "We're not ready for the checkmate move yet," she whispered. "No." She smirked. "Not until the dance." I laughed softly. "You've got this whole thing planned out, don't you?" "I'm just following your lead," she said, and winked. As we returned to the crowd, I realized something. The whispers had changed. The questions weren't just about what Lena and I were doing here together. They were about how we ended up together. About what was real and what was performance. And the most dangerous part? I was starting to forget the difference. I didn't see her coming. One moment, Lena and I were locked in a quiet exchange near the punch table, fingers brushing, bodies close enough that I could feel the heat rising between us again. The next, Rachel slid into view like a storm front, calm on the surface, charged underneath. That saccharine smile she'd worn all night was gone now. In its place, a look that could strip paint. "Can I talk to you for a second?" she asked me. Her tone made it clear this wasn't really a request. Lena stiffened beside me. She didn't release her grip on my arm. We were just grabbing drinks. Rachel smiled tightly. I won't keep him long. I turned to Lena. You okay? She nodded, her voice smooth but alert. I'll be right here. Rachel led me toward the far side of the gym, just out of earshot, near the long row of class photos stapled to the wall, a gallery of innocence we'd long since outgrown. You want to say something, say it, I told her. She folded her arms. What are you doing bringing her here? Isn't that what people do at reunions? Bring a date? Come on, she hissed. Don't pretend this is casual. You're parading her around like she's some trophy. I laughed. Is that what you think this is? Revenge? I think you're trying to humiliate me. You humiliated yourself when you screwed my best friend. I snapped. Don't act like I owe you subtlety. She recoiled slightly, but recovered. I made mistakes. No, you made choices. A long pause. Her voice dropped. You were never exciting, you know? You were steady, predictable. You built a life. And I guess I thought I wanted something else. I shook my head. You wanted someone who wouldn't hold a mirror to what you were becoming. She looked away. And now, I continued, you see someone beside me who sees value in the man you couldn't wait to throw away. Her gaze sharpened. You think she's different? I know she is. Rachel scoffed. She was my friend. No, came a voice behind us. I was your friend. We both turned. Lena stood just a few feet away, arms crossed, gaze like a scalpel. She hadn't raised her voice, but her presence hit like a thunderclap. You lied to me, Lena said, stepping closer. You looked me in the eye while sleeping with Eric behind his back. And you expected me to keep smiling, to keep defending you. Lena, Rachel started, but she didn't get far. You used me, Lena continued. You told me it was just a slip at first. Then it became a pattern. And when I finally called you out, you accused me of being jealous. Rachel went pale. And maybe I was, Lena added, her voice quieter now. Not of what you had, but of what you wasted. That landed like a gut punch. Rachel blinked fast. So what is this? Some weird power play. You're with him now? Lena glanced at me, then back at Rachel. No, she said, voice calm. We're with each other. And the best part? Neither of us needs to pretend anymore. The silence between the three of us stretched taut. Rachel tried to collect herself, but her pride was leaking out through every crack. Well, good for you. I hope it's real. Lena's smile was dagger sharp. I don't think you do, but thank you anyway. With that, she turned back to me. Ready for that dance? I nodded, stunned into silence. We walked away without another word, leaving Rachel rooted there, staring after us like she didn't quite know what world she was in anymore. As we moved through the crowd, the weight of the confrontation still throbbed in my chest, not in a painful way, but with adrenaline. Finality, like something had been severed clean. You didn't have to jump in, I murmured. I wanted to, she said. She needed to hear it, and I needed to say it. We stopped in the middle of the gym as the slow song began to hum through the speakers. Lena stepped in close, pressing her hand to my chest. You okay? I looked into her eyes, sharp, yes, but soft around the edges now. Not acting, not posturing, just her, present, real. I think I'm better than okay. She smiled, looping her arms around my neck. Then we danced. And if Rachel was still watching from across the room, I didn't care. Let her see it. Let everyone see it. Because the moment I pulled Lena closer and felt her settle against me like we'd been made to fit, I knew. This wasn't just about proving a point anymore. This was something else entirely. There's something about slow music that strips the world down. The lights in the gym were dimmer now, the overhead fairy lights casting everything in a soft gold glow. The bass from the speakers vibrated faintly through the floor, a moody track from our senior year playing. Something nostalgic, melancholy, a little too on the nose. But it didn't matter, because all I could focus on was her. Lena moved against me with an ease that almost didn't feel fair. Her body pressed flush to mine, one hand resting gently on the back of my neck, the other laced in my fingers. Her dress clung like a secret around her thighs, her perfume swirling between us, sharp and warm, something like jasmine and rain. I'd danced with Rachel before. Formal events. Our wedding. But not like this. This wasn't a performance. This was intimate. You're holding your breath, Lena murmured. I exhaled slowly. Sorry. She smiled. Don't be. I just like knowing I still have that effect on you. I chuckled, but my pulse was doing things I couldn't control. We swayed together in a tight rhythm, her thigh brushing mine as she stepped. There was barely an inch between us, and it still felt too far. You feel that? She whispered, her lips close to my ear. I nodded. Yeah. It's not pretend. God, I didn't want it to be. Her hand moved from my neck, fingers grazing my jaw before settling against my cheek. She pulled back just enough to look at me, and whatever she saw there made her eyes soften. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. Because in that moment, with all the noise around us dulled and my hands resting firmly on the small of her back, I knew the line we'd been towing all night had vanished. The tension wasn't just for show anymore. It wasn't about Rachel, or Eric, or revenge. It was about us. Lena leaned in until her lips brushed my cheek. Not a kiss exactly, but close enough to send a bolt of heat down my spine. She's watching, she whispered. Let her. She looks like she wants to scream. Let her scream. She smiled against my skin, her lips grazing just below my ear now. You're dangerous when you stop giving a damn. I gave a damn for too long. I murmured, about the wrong person. Lena pulled back again, just slightly, just enough so her eyes could lock with mine. And now, I think I might have found the right one. Her breath caught, just for a second. Then she leaned in and kissed me. Not soft, not chaste. It wasn't a tease this time. It was full, open, real. Her lips parted against mine, and her hand slid into my hair, anchoring me there as if daring me to pull away. But I didn't. I leaned into it, into her, and kissed her back like I'd been starving for this exact moment. For this specific woman. She tasted like wine and heat, and every wrong turn I'd ever taken finally correcting itself. The kiss lasted longer than it should have. When we finally broke apart, the song had faded into another. Neither of us had noticed. We were still standing in the center of the dance floor, still holding each other, and everyone was watching. I think we made our point, Lena said, breathless. Pretty sure the room's still recovering, I replied. Her smile turned wicked. Think your ex is seething? I didn't have to look. She probably left to cry in the bathroom. Then my work here is done, she said, brushing her thumb across my lower lip. But her eyes said otherwise. Because her work wasn't done, and neither was mine. As the next song picked up, we stayed on the dance floor, but we didn't dance. We held each other, barely swaying now, our bodies speaking louder than anything we could have said aloud. I ran my hand along the open curve of her back, feeling her shiver slightly at my touch. You cold? I asked. No, she breathed. Just aware. Of us. Of what we were doing. Of what this was quickly becoming. She tilted her head and rested it against my shoulder, and I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. My heart thudded beneath her, fast and sure. Across the room, I caught Eric's eyes. Hard, furious, unreadable. I didn't look away. I slid my hand further down Lena's back, slowly, deliberately, and pressed a soft kiss to her temple as I stared him dead in the eye. He turned first, and just like that, the game was over. But Lena? She wasn't just a move on the board. She was the one I never saw coming. And the way she was holding me now, it didn't feel like a game anymore. I saw him moving toward us before Lena did. Eric cut through the crowd like a shark, slow, deliberate, mouth set in that familiar smirk that always pretended to be casual. He had a beer in one hand and a clenched jaw under that neatly trimmed beard of his. Rachel was nowhere in sight. I wasn't sure if she'd left or was hiding in a bathroom stall, probably questioning everything she used to be so sure of. Good. But Eric? He looked like he came for blood. Lena noticed him a second later. She shifted, her back straightening as she moved just a hair closer to me, like she was bracing. Not scared, just ready. Well, Eric said, stopping in front of us. Look at you two. He gave Lena a once-over, not subtle at all. His eyes lingered too long. You always did like his leftovers, he said to her. My fists clenched before my brain could catch up. Lena didn't even blink. At least I don't settle for other people's mistakes. Eric chuckled, though it didn't touch his eyes. So what is this? He asked me. Some sad attempt to rewrite the narrative? You think bringing her here changes what happened? No, I said evenly. What happened is set in stone. You stabbed me in the back. She burned it all down. But this? I gestured between Lena and me. This is just what growth looks like. You think I regret it? He sneered. You think I look at her and wish I had your life? I don't care what you regret, Eric. I said. You made your bed. You're stuck with her. He stepped in closer. You always were too soft. Too nice. You think playing the victim makes you look strong? Lena's voice cut through the tension like a knife. You're projecting, she said, smiling. He doesn't need to prove anything. You're the one who followed us around the room all night, pretending you still matter. Eric turned to her, eyes flashing. You think he's different now? Give it time. He'll bore you too. No, she said, calm as ever. Because unlike you, he knows how to be loyal. He doesn't confuse destruction with passion. Eric opened his mouth, probably to throw another weak jab, but I cut him off. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I just leaned in slightly, dropped my arm around Lena's waist, and looked him square in the eye. Then I kissed her. Not like the slow, private kiss from earlier. This one was public, deliberate. A full, open-mouth kiss that told him everything he needed to know. Her hand slid into my hair without hesitation. She kissed me back, slow and deep, like she wanted him to watch every second. My hand curled around her waist, pulling her into me, close enough to make the room vanish again. When we finally broke apart, Lena looked dazed in the most beautiful way. And Eric? He looked destroyed. He blinked. Once. Twice. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away, shouldering past a pair of wide-eyed classmates who definitely heard every word. Well, Lena murmured, breath warm against my cheek. That escalated. You okay? She smiled. I've never been better. We stayed there for another minute before heading back toward the bar. The crowd was buzzing now. Hushed conversations, stolen glances, half-sipped drinks forgotten midair. We'd become the unofficial event of the night. I don't think you need to prove anything else, Lena said softly, fingers laced with mine. It was never about proving anything, I replied. No. I turned to her. It was about closure, and about finally realizing I don't need to carry their betrayal anymore. That weight. It was never mine to bear. Her expression shifted, something softer now. Less armor. More truth. I'm proud of you, she said. You know, I added, I didn't expect this to feel so damn good. Which part? She teased. Making them squirm. Saying what I never got to say. And I hesitated, squeezing her hand. You. This. Us. Whatever this is. She nodded slowly. It's something. We don't have to define it tonight. Agreed. Though, she leaned in, voice lowering. I'm not ready for it to end either. Then don't. We stood there a while longer, watching the reunion unfold like a play from the edge of the stage. The fake smiles. The polite lies. The old flames rekindling over watery cocktails and nostalgia. But we weren't part of that show anymore. We had our own story now. And as far as I was concerned, we'd just delivered the final act. We didn't stay for dessert. Somewhere between the final slow dance and the awkward group photo attempts near the photo booth, Lena gave me a look, a simple, sideways glance with one brow raised, like a question only I could answer. I didn't say anything. I just nodded. She slipped her hand into mine, laced her fingers through mine like she'd been doing it for years, and leaned in close enough to whisper, "Let's go." And so we did. We walked out slowly, not sneaking out, not rushing, not hiding. We made sure people saw us. The way her arm was looped through mine. The way she looked up at me like I was the only man in the room. The way I opened the gym door for her with a small, knowing smile and kept my hand on her lower back the entire time. People whispered. We didn't care. Outside, the night air hit us like a welcome splash of clarity, cool and crisp after hours in that warm, crowded gym. The stars were out. The parking lot was quieter now, just a few lingering classmates saying drawn-out goodbyes by their cars, probably trying to pretend the night meant more than it did. But for us, it had already changed everything. I walked her to my truck. She turned to me before I opened the door, her expression unreadable under the soft yellow glow of the street lamp. Well, she said, that was satisfying. Understatement. She smiled. Do you think it was too much? No, I said, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. I think it was exactly right. I've never seen her look like that, Lena said. Like she was standing in a room she didn't own for once. She wasn't the queen tonight. She tilted her head. No, but maybe I was. I leaned in, my voice low. You absolutely were. She held my gaze, and for a beat, neither of us moved. The energy was different now, less performative, less charged by old wounds. It wasn't about them anymore. It was about us. Want to go for a drive? I asked. Only if it doesn't end with you dropping me off like some after-school field trip. My lips curved. No plans to drop you off at all. We drove in silence for a bit. The windows cracked just enough to let the wind whisper through. I took the long way, down a road that used to lead to the lake. The same road we all used to sneak off to as teenagers, when we thought being 21 was the pinnacle of adulthood and heartbreak was something that only happened in songs. When I pulled up near the edge of the lake, Lena turned to me. You remember this place? First time I kissed Rachel was right here. She blinked. That's a bold choice of destination. I'm rewriting history. She smiled and leaned back in her seat. So what happens now? I turned the engine off. The night surrounded us, quiet, open, alive with the kind of tension that no longer needed to hide. I don't know, I said honestly. We were pretending for so long tonight. I think I forgot where the act ended. She looked over at me, her voice softer now. And if I told you I wasn't pretending at all? My heart kicked. I'd say I wasn't either. We sat there, breathing in the truth of it. Then, slowly, she reached for my hand. Come on, she said. She climbed out, heels clicking against the dirt until she slipped them off entirely and walked barefoot toward the water's edge. I followed. The moon hung low, silver on the lake, and her silhouette moved with a confidence that belonged entirely to her. She turned to face me. We started this to prove something, she said. To them. Maybe even to ourselves. And I think we did. But now, she added, stepping closer, I want something that doesn't have anything to do with them. I stared at her, the hem of her dress fluttering in the wind, the light touching her shoulders like a spotlight. You already have it. She leaned in and kissed me again, slower this time. Not for show, not to twist a knife, just to feel what was real. Her lips lingered, soft and warm and full of a promise I didn't know I needed. I pulled her closer, arms wrapping around her waist as her bare feet pressed into the grass, grounding us both. This was no longer revenge. This wasn't payback. It was a turning point. And as we stood there, surrounded by stars and silence, and something that felt dangerously like peace, I realized. I didn't want the night to end. Her place was warm. Not in the literal sense, though the heat clicked on as we stepped inside, but in the way that made you feel like you'd arrived somewhere safe. It smelled faintly of vanilla and something floral. A few framed photos on the wall, cozy lighting, a lived-in couch. It was Lena through and through, confident, effortless, real. She slipped her heels off by the door and padded barefoot across the hardwood, that emerald dress swaying around her like a slow, quiet tide. Drink, she asked. Sure. She poured us both a glass of wine and curled up on the couch beside me, legs tucked under her. We didn't say anything for a long moment. The quiet wasn't awkward. It just felt necessary, like both of us had finally stopped performing and needed space to catch our breath. I took a sip and let my eyes drift to her. You know, I said, I didn't think anything tonight would feel real. Not this way. She looked over. What part surprised you? Mostly that I didn't hate being there. I thought seeing them, her, would rip open everything again. But it didn't. No. I shook my head. I felt done. Finally. Like the version of me that got left behind doesn't need to follow me anymore. Lena swirled her glass. Closure is weird like that. It never comes when you expect it. You've been carrying some of that too, haven't you? She hesitated, then nodded. Rachel, she wasn't just a friend. She was someone I trusted. Someone I defended. I didn't just lose you when everything fell apart. I lost her too. And part of me kept wondering if I'd done something wrong. If I'd missed the signs. You didn't miss anything, I said softly. She had a way of making people feel small without even saying anything, she murmured. I lived in her shadow for years, and I let her keep me there. I reached out and took her hand. Her fingers curled around mine like it was instinct. Well, I said, you sure as hell weren't in her shadow tonight. She laughed quietly. No, I wasn't. A beat of silence passed. I've been thinking about that kiss, she said, almost shyly. The first one, or the one that probably gave Eric a stress ulcer? She laughed again, fuller this time. Both, but mostly the second. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like a beginning. I turned toward her. You want it to be? I don't know what this is, exactly, she admitted. But I want to find out. Same. She studied me, then reached up and brushed her fingers through my hair. A gentle, familiar gesture that hit harder than it should have. I think we've both been holding on to old wounds, she said. And maybe that's okay. Maybe they don't need to disappear all at once. Maybe they just need company. Company's a good place to start, I said. The tension between us had shifted again, no longer sharp, no longer wrapped in old drama. This was soft, honest, the kind of energy that felt like late nights and second chances. I set my wine down. So, she said, voice lower now. Are you going to kiss me again? I didn't answer. I just leaned in. The kiss was slower this time. Unhurried. Her lips parted easily, welcoming mine, and when our mouths found rhythm again, it felt like something being rewritten, not just memories, but meanings. I wasn't kissing her to forget the past. I was kissing her to start something new. She pulled back just enough to press her forehead to mine. You staying? Unless you tell me not to. I'm not telling you anything, she whispered. Except that I'm glad it was you. Glad what was me? That walked in with me. That kissed me. That made her look twice. I smiled. And the one who's going to wake up next to you? She leaned in again. Especially him. Later, when the wine was gone and the night stretched long and quiet, we lay tangled on her couch, wrapped in a blanket, her head resting on my chest. The hum of her breathing, the way her fingers lightly traced patterns on my skin, it was everything I didn't know I'd been missing. I thought revenge would feel like fire, but it felt like this. Soft, whole, free. Maybe I hadn't gone to the reunion to find someone, but I left it with someone who saw me clearly. Not as the man who'd been cheated on, not as some tragic punchline, but as a man who still had something left to give. And for the first time in a long time, I was ready to give it.